A lot of entitled crap going down today on the RR Show. I'm Vince. Would you share the show? Tell your friends about it. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, we've got some good stuff today. This is going to be 1, 2, 3 stories, 4, 5. We've got 5 in the entitled category coming your way right here on this edition of the RR Show. So let's go. Posted by the user InevitableLeg4620, titled My Mother and My Wedding Day. Hi y'all, I've been having a really hard time since my wedding the other day. So the morning of my wedding started off good with my mom, and she was all fine and dandy enjoying her morning at the hotel. She then told me she made an appointment at her hotel to get her hair done at 12:30. I told her my hair and makeup lady would be at the Airbnb at 12 to help me get ready. She then started freaking out because she wanted to be there when I was getting ready, but she insisted that she needed to get her hair done. So I told her to either cancel her appointment and come and get ready at the Airbnb, or meet me at my Airbnb for 2 before we leave for the wedding, or meet me at the chapel for 3 p.m. She started freaking out on me because she wasn't going to be there for me when I was getting ready. To me, it wasn't even a big deal because everyone was in their own rooms getting ready anyway. She's yelling at me on the phone, telling me how much money she's wasting by being at the hotel, and saying that she should be staying at my Airbnb, which, mind you, the only people at the Airbnb were the bridal party. Me, my husband, his groomsmen, and my bridesmaids. So it wouldn't make sense for her to be there. So eventually I get to the chapel and my mom shows up completely drunk. She is saying the most ridiculous things to people and just making a fool out of herself. Meanwhile, I'm basically in a fever dream of excitement taking pictures with our family before the ceremony. We walk into the chapel and everyone is supposed to go in and sit down so we can start, but she proceeds to dig through a bag to try and give me a gift. I told her I would check it out after because everyone is already in the chapel sitting down, and then she freaks out on me again because I didn't want to look at her gifts right then and there. Eventually the ceremony's over, and now my husband and I are now so happy, and our photographer takes us to go and take more pictures around the chapel. Eventually, we finish taking pictures, and I get back to the party bus to head to the after party, and my mom's not there. I asked my sister what happened, and she said my mom freaked out and took an Uber back to her hotel and left before the after party. The next day comes around, and my mom proceeds to text me the most nastiest text ever, basically saying how I embarrassed her, how I'm not her daughter anymore, and how my husband's an a-hole, and how I have a new family now and don't need her, and saying that she's a bad mother. I literally don't even know where any of that came from, as I was literally busy getting married and barely paid any attention to anyone besides my soon-to-be husband in the moment. All I know is that she showed up drunk to my wedding, freaked out and left, and now is trying to turn it all around on me. I've been feeling awful since because I wanted my mom to be there to enjoy the day with me, and she had to go ruin it. Regardless, I had an amazing day, but it still sucks. And now I feel like I did something wrong, even though I didn't. From user PopularJaguar3803 under the subreddit EntitledPeople, entitled Apartment Neighbors. This was 16 years ago. I lived in these apartments going on for 3 years. Was happy there, had wonderful neighbors. I was always respectful to my neighbors next to me and below me by being quiet in the evenings, and my neighbors deeply appreciated it. Then we had some new renters come in across the parking lot. Same complex. About every Friday night, they would have parties. I lived in Southern California, and most nights the air is calm, so sound traveled like an amphitheater. I also then had my youngest son, who was a baby. At 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., all you could hear was them talking, whooping it up, laughing like they were standing right next to my bed. Yes, the windows were closed. About the 4th weekend, I would call security. They go talk to them, very little help. The next weekend, same thing. I finally went over and told them to quit it as they were way too loud. They laughed and kept going. Their next-door neighbors said that I needed to be quiet. I couldn't understand how they didn't hear their neighbors. Finally, started calling the cops. Next rent payment, I went to the apartment office and complained as I made the payment. The office said I was the problem. At this point, I was done. I started looking around and decided to buy a home. Following week, I made an offer. It was accepted. The office staff told me that they were happy to see me go as I was the problem on these party nights. After 6 weeks of closing, I pack up and move. My oldest son came to help me, and as we were loading up, one of my neighbors who lived next to my apartment said they envied me as they too were tired of our partying neighbors. The neighbor next door to the party group yells out to me and said, "Good riddance." I rolled my eyes and the nice neighbor asked what her problem was, as the only disturbance in the area was her neighbor, as they had all the parties. Anyways, 2 months later, I drove to the apartments to find out that every single renter in my building and half from the other building next to mine were vacant. Everyone moved out because of the party group. The apartment complex finally evicted the renters that were partying. I guess losing one renter was okay, but 16 apartments vacated because of them was too much. I spoke with a couple of my old neighbors and found out that when they gave their notice to end their lease, the apartment managers tried to talk them into staying. They told them that they were done with the neighbors who partied all the time. It took them a few months to get new renters in, especially after all the negative reviews they got. Another one from the subreddit entitled People. Potential Drive 8623 with their story, Entitled Lodger Doesn't Understand Why He Needs an Appointment. For context, last summer, I had the unfortunate pleasure of dealing with a Karen who thinks a person washing their car at home also runs a car wash. The Karen complained to the lodge owner who she was staying with to probably start trouble or something. Anyway, the lodger, who I'll call D, talked to me about it, and he had an idea. D had a slight business opportunity, and he wanted to pitch it to me. He wanted to see if I wanted to make some money by washing any lodgers' cars for them to offer something no one else in town had. So we talked for a couple of weeks and came up with a plan. Days I have the afternoons off, and weekends I can offer the lodgers car wash, and if needed, I could clean their interiors too. D and I agreed if the lodgers want their interiors cleaned, they need to first schedule an appointment with me and D so it works best for everybody. And so far, everything's been going good, and people get their vehicles washed, and I get some extra cash for fun stuff. That is until what happened last week when Entitled Lodger had to make their grand appearance. It was a normal Thursday afternoon. I just finished washing a lodger's car and wrapping up the waxing even though it's February. We wrapped up having snow this year, and having a heated garage has its perks. I brought the car back to the lodge for the customer to let them check out their ride. They say thanks, pay, and I go walk in to D. When I walk in the lodge, I hear shouting and see D arguing with a lady whose face actually looks like it's from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, who I'll call Karen, about how if she needs her car cleaned inside and out, and she needs to schedule an appointment first. The convo goes like this. D: I'm sorry, Karen, our guy needs you to make an appointment first so we can have everything ready. Karen: well, what kind of service is this? It should be he could do it now when I'm ready, not when he feels like it. D: again, I'm sorry, but our guy already has people lined up, and that's why he does appointments. Also, he has another job, so he doesn't have a lot of spare time. Karen: well, what's wrong with him, honestly? I came up here to enjoy the scenery, and this is what I get, honestly? After what seemed like an eternity, D, he saw me with the payment, and he asked me, hey, are you finished already? Me: yeah, it wasn't too bad, but the guy's happy. Here's your part, as I hand him his share. D: hey, thanks. Say, do you have any openings for this weekend for a full cleaning? Me: sorry, D, I'm booked up this weekend, but I'm available next weekend. Unfortunately for me, saying that earned the wrath of Karen. What do you mean you're booked up? Me: sorry, but I have other people lined up for some cleaning. Karen: I don't care if it's the president or Bill Gates. I need you to clean my car now. Me: sorry, ma'am, but I'm on a first come, first serve basis. And car washing and for full cleaning, I do appointments only. Karen: No, you will clean my car now. At this point, I knew the conversation wasn't going anywhere, so I bluntly said, no. Karen, what did you say? Me, I said no. I can spell it out for you. That's N, then O. That's no. Karen starts stammering, not saying anything coherent, so I said, look, I don't really care who you are, but I was listening to you insult D, and now you're here trying to insult me, and frankly, you can crawl back into whatever hole you crawled out of because I will not now or ever wash your car. I look at D and say, have a good night, D. I went back home and was enjoying the blissful peace and quiet. On Saturday, I came in to pick up the next client's vehicle for a car wash and found out from D that Karen's husband was not too pleased that Karen was insulting the owner and the guy doing the car washing, and that they packed up and left after only being there for less than a week. I was worried D was going to have some strong words with me about what happened, and he told me that if anyone tries what Karen pulled, to refuse and let him know. D wasn't going to let this happen and let people get away with this. So now D and I are going to let future guests know car cleaning needs to be made by appointment or head downtown for a car wash. From Nagideo 101 on r/EntitledParents. My mom used an MLM to treat my sore throat and the flu, and then I became allergic to the products. This story is pretty silly, but my dad brought up how I almost got hospitalized due to my mom's MLM idea. She joined an MLM in the 1990s called Molecula. I was around 13 or 14 when these large white boxes showed up. She would buy the shampoo, conditioner, lotion, children's vitamins, adult vitamins, and so on. I should say it was really weird toothpaste, it was gross, breath spray was much to be desired. I literally was told it was better for me than what we bought at the local grocery store. My sister and I sort of shrugged it off, and my mom was that kind of weirdo. So in that time, I got a bad sore throat. My mom took me to a local doctor. I had a strep test and so on. Turned out to be laryngitis. Simple, right? Wrong. My mom decided to not use the prescription and instead decided to use whatever cure-all she thought of. This led to me missing a week of school. On top of that, I caught a nasty flu. My dad, who rarely tried to involve himself in the schemes, took me to another doctor. Strep test and was told what he didn't want to hear. I had laryngitis and the flu, also a sinus infection. He also found out that one of the additives to the molecular lotion caused a rash on my back. When he heard all this, he got the medication that was prescribed and had a lovely discussion with my mom that MLMs do not cure colds or much of anything. He also mentioned that I was allergic to her lotion. To say the least, my mom became all entitled and she thought I was lying. Again, he showed her all the medical evidence. Still, she said those must be lies because nobody can be allergic to Molecula. To this day, she still thinks Molecula is an awesome product. She ceased giving me the lotion or any product laced with it. It hasn't stopped her from giving it to my husband, who's also allergic to the same additives in the lotion. So to sum up this comedy, my mother gets into an MLM, gets entitled when she's told it doesn't cure anything, and it causes more problems than it solves. FYI, the children's and adult vitamins don't work. Please just buy your kids Flintstones or whatever your pediatrician suggests. Also, the Molecula Kids vitamins taste like chalk with great flavoring. I have more stories of my mom trying to use Molecula as a cure stories. They're all pretty much silly and her entitled mom mind. They're all pretty out there. Another one from r/EntitledParents. From Adventurous Panic 91. My mom is insistent that I have a C-section so that she and my dad can schedule her visit for the birth of my daughter. I don't know where to begin. I just need a place to vent. I am due to have my first baby in over 5 weeks. My pregnancy was a surprise, and it's been a difficult 8 months thus far. Although low risk, I've experienced every symptom you can imagine, from intense morning sickness to migraines to carpal tunnel syndrome. I've also faced some pretty intense discrimination at work, despite maintaining a high performance throughout the year. All this to say, it's been a rough year. I've had little support from my family this year, and their nonsense has seemingly known no bounds. Since around May, they've been asking my partner and I to make the 10-hour interstate drive for Christmas so that we could spend it with them. This would be fine, but my doctor has repeatedly told me not to do this, as I'll be 36 weeks at that point and prone to blood clots. Despite this, they've continued to pester my partner and I about it. At one point, they proposed coming to us for Christmas, but then swiftly shut down their idea when they immediately realized it would be an inconvenience to them. Recently, my dad was diagnosed with some health problems of his own, which he's been told is completely treatable with some surgery and medication. Regardless, I've called every other day to check up on him and to see how he's doing. In the last few weeks, my mom has started telling me how awful birth was for her and every other woman on both sides of my family. I kid you not, every time she calls, she encourages me to plan a C-section and drops some new detail about a relative who had a traumatic birth experience. I've told her it's that comments like those that are unhelpful, and she's known for months that I don't want a C-section if I can help it. She constantly says things like, if I had my time again, I'd plan a C-section, as if it's an easier option. I wondered why she started down this path until she started making comments about my dad's treatment plan and appointments, such as, we might be able to make it out to see you for a few days in January, but dad might have to go to an appointment on the 18th, and then again on the 31st, and then after that, we can't visit for a while because dad might need a surgery. I snapped and told her that I would not and could not plan the birth of my child around their schedule and that they shouldn't bother coming. They haven't even asked my partner or I if we want an extended family present directly after birth. We don't. I was so scared about the birth and was starting to feel somewhat comfortable with the idea of it all when my mom started making these comments. Every time I told her that I'm upset about their comments or their lack of normal, healthy support, my mom has just told me that I'm just hormonal and that everyone else has their own thing going on. I'm so sick of it and ready to cut them off for some time. I feel like they've made the birth of my little girl all about them. They've compared the potential surgery my dad might need to my birth, talking about catheters and IV drips like I won't need a similar setup, particularly if I go down the C-section route. When they did come to visit earlier in the year, they made comments up about what I was eating. I was 24 weeks pregnant at that point. One of my unhealthy options was a few chocolates after dinner. I don't even know what to say or do. All of this has made me reflect on my childhood, and I can't help but feel sad about that too. I've spent the last few weeks just crying about it all, and I'm so tired of venting about it to my partner. Thanks for reading if you've come this far. I just needed to vent. So thanks for being with us. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcasts and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, please follow or subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're feeling extra nice, you might as well leave a 5-star review. But for more, visit the website, rrshow.com. That is rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince. Thank you to my producer, Kevin, and we'll see you next time here on the RR Show.